Hi, I'm Dr. Molly with Your Goals Physical Therapy. So many people suffer from chronic low back pain. It either is something that's just constantly with them, like every day, just sort of gets annoyed. Sometimes it's something that just reoccurs, so they move a certain way or they do something and they know that they're just going to be paying for it later with some amount of pain. Some people don't even know why it comes and goes. It just cycles through every so many months and cramps up on them so bad that they can't move for a week. And from where I sit, that's probably not a very comfortable place to live, right? I mean, just constantly being worried about what's going to set your back off next and what can't you do today, all related to your back. People start really thinking about where they're going to go on vacation, well, that's so many hours in the car, that's so much walking, and I just can't do it. They don't do certain exercises. Well, I used to golf, but my bad back. I can't do that anymore. I used to run, but every time I run, I have back problems. And so depending on how young you are, when that first happens, your world shrinks very quickly. And that can be just very stressful on you in ways that you may not even pick up all the time. And just sometimes it just flares up, right? Sometimes you just realize, man, I really wish that I could get back to whatever this is. But I've tried all of these things. I've tried icing for my back. I've tried heating my back. I've tried exercises. I've strengthened my stomach. I strengthened my hips. I fixed how I did all these other things that were causing issues. And so everything's better, but I still have this reoccurring pain. Well, you're not unlike a couple of people I've had. And the most recent, we're looking at her ability to stabilize her stomach, right? Or her abs while moving her upper back. Or arms, right? Something relatively simple, like keep your stomach and raise an arm. And that was really, really hard for her. And what we were able to figure out is that her thoracic spine, so her upper back and into her neck, was so stiff from her posture because she just because everybody else in this world, right? We're constantly in this forward position. She didn't have the strength in her back or the flexibility to actually extend her arm without taking it out on her lower back. And what do I mean by that? Because that sounded kind of clunky. So your spine obviously is made up of bones, and each one of those bones has an ideal position. So if gravity's hitting me on the top of my head, my spine most likes this one stacked right on top of the other. And that position just so happens to make a very mild curve. So you have a mild curve, in your neck, and then in your thoracic spine where your ribs are, and then another mild curve in your lower back. And so those three curves help you balance out the forces when gravity hits you on the top of your head. But again, because we spend so much time with our head down, what happens is that we end up with this rounded shoulder. Everything's kind of pulled forward. So our chest muscles are normally super tight, and then our upper back muscles into our neck tend to get weak or stretched out. Weak can be a relative term, but they tend to be in a more stretched position, which makes them harder to work. Right? It's harder to work if you're, trying to do a split. You're not going to be lifting too much, right? It's too much for that muscle to try to contract from the furthest point it can be stretched to. So over time, they just forget how to do their job. So they could actually still have strength. They just don't know how to make that strength happen. And of course, you don't see your back muscles, so it's hard to go, I want you to work, and it pulls, right? It's not the same thing as telling your arm you want your arm to come up. You can kind of see that happen and know what to do to make your arm move up. When you talk about upper back muscles, sometimes that's a little bit more tricky because you can't actually see it. So it makes it harder to recruit those muscles when you want to actively use them. And so that is what we've been working on because she's had just random flare-ups. She does great when she does her her ab strengths, when we're doing things in a stable position, and when we progress from there, she does great. The moment she uses her arm, she cannot hold it. So that explains a lot of the reasons that she was unable to get back to her gym routines and get back to running and playing tennis, because she did have good core strength, she did have good hip strength in certain settings, but it was not translating over because this one little piece, this idea of working on her upper back muscles and her posture, was missing. And so now that we've helped loosen up her thoracic spine, which is, again, that's like this middle part of your spine, loosened up those vertebrae so they're not so stiff and rigid, worked on those muscle activation. Now she hasn't had back pain in a couple months, and she's back to playing tennis and back to running and back to all these things that she'd just been, resigned that she would never be able to do again. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about why posture is so important. And that is one of them, right? Because not only does posture affect your shoulders and your neck, it really can affect any place lower in your spine, because they're all connected. And I hope that information helps and maybe brings some light to something that might be going on with you.